Hi, my name is Eric Frank. I'm co-founder and CEO of Acrobatiq, and my goal today is to provide you with an overview of what Acrobatiq, powered by Carnegie Mellon, is all about. It's always good to start with a little tour into our past. We're a unique entity in that we're a fully owned for-profit subsidiary of Carnegie Mellon University. We come out of a long and storied tradition of work in the area of education technology and cognitive science as a result of that relationship. Specifically, think about Carnegie Mellon. It has this long-term expertise in cognitive science, human-computer interaction and user experience, software engineering, and statistics and statistical modeling. All of that came together in 2001 in an applied research project that many in the education community have viewed as a real pioneer in the field of online learning, and that was the Open Learning Initiative. We're a direct relation to the Open Learning Initiative. The Open Learning Initiative was really started to ask the question, can we apply what we know about how people learn to measurably improve learning outcomes online? That was the fundamental driving research question behind OLI, and I think after 12 years of research, the answer to that question was yes. Just some quick numbers. It was a 12-year project, over 100 faculty at 55 institutions involved in the research. Over $20 million in research funding went into OLI from entities like the National Science Foundation, the Gates Foundation, the Hewlett Foundation, and others. And over 1 million learners went through Open Learning Initiative courses, including over 150,000 who were enrolled in formally matriculated programs and using Open Learning Initiative courseware as their primary learning resource instead of a textbook. The results were more important than the numbers. There were over 20 published papers over the 12 years demonstrating in different ways, shapes, and forms improved learning outcomes. Most importantly, they demonstrated that students were actually attaining increased learning gains as evidenced by the gains between pre and post tests, and they were learning more in less time, generally somewhere in the neighborhood of 65 to 70% of the time on task that it was taking students in traditional courses. And these kinds of results were replicated across multiple segments: private, higher education institutions, four-year public institutions, and over 26 community colleges. Just to give you a sense of that research was saying, there was a series of studies done on a statistics course created by OLI. And the first study was around whether accelerated learning was taking place. It measured an adaptive data-driven OLI course against a traditional college course, first at Carnegie Mellon. And the results were pretty astounding, that students in the traditional course were taking more than 100 hours of time to complete the work of the course, and were only attaining a 3% learning gain in that course. The students in the control section at OLI were spending less than 50 hours in the course and attaining an 18% learning gain. Similar results were then replicated 3 times at Carnegie Mellon and then externally in a report authored by the Ithaca Foundation. Maybe more interestingly was the second follow-on study, which said, well, if students are learning more and faster, how are they doing with this information in the future? And so there was a retention study. And again, if you looked at the group on the right, the traditional control versus the OLI adaptive group, the OLI adaptive group, after 6 months, actually demonstrated a statistically significant way that they were retaining the information more effectively than the traditional group when taking a new post-test. Both groups took the post-test, and the OLI students outperformed again. And then maybe the most interesting study was the third one, which was, okay, so you learned more, you learned it faster, you remembered it better, but could you actually transfer the knowledge of what you learned to a new context? And again, when given a new problem to solve which required the knowledge from statistics, the students in the OLI group outperformed the traditional control group. All that was really saying you can learn more, you can learn it faster, you can remember it better, and ultimately you can transfer it more effectively, so the learning was demonstrated to be highly robust. It was really on top of that foundation that Carnegie Mellon University decided to launch a formal for-profit entity to scale the impact of OLI called Acrobatiq. We started in June of 2013. Our goals really are simply to accelerate and scale the impact of OLI globally, and ultimately to build a sustainable business for Carnegie Mellon University. We started again in 2013 with funding exclusively from Carnegie Mellon University. And over the first 18 months of the business, some of the key achievements were that we rebuilt the platform. So while we had excellent science, methodology, and algorithms, the technology itself had gotten old, and we wanted to make sure we had a modern, scalable, cloud-based architecture and platform. And so we rebuilt the platform from scratch. That's allowed us to dramatically accelerate the time to develop courseware. It was taking several years. We now take less than 5 months, and significantly decrease the cost of producing that courseware based on this better technology. We've got over 35 universities now using courseware developed by by Acrobatiq. And we're seeing some continued strong outcomes results. In our first significant amount of data across 5 courses at one online learning institution, we were seeing pass rates increase between 18 and 26%. The aggregate across the courses was a 23% increase in pass rates. And recently, in October 2014, we were awarded a prestigious Gates Foundation Courseware Challenge Award to continue to innovate on top of that foundation of OLI. So with that background, what is Acrobatiq all about going forward? At high level, our goal is to make the world smarter through personalized learning at scale. And what we really do specifically is we try to optimize learning outcomes through 2 products. One is courseware. This is where we take our methodology, our technology, and our ability to develop courseware on top of that, and we build a complete courseware solution. You can think of courseware probably most easily as a replacement for a textbook and assignments that might take place in a course. It doesn't necessarily replace a course, doesn't necessarily have to replace a lecture component of a course, but it generally is the work that students will be doing away from a classroom, reading, solving problems, doing projects, all embedded in a cohesive and integrated solution, which I'll talk more about. In fall of 2015, we're also releasing a second product, which is to separate content that we produce from the platform we use to produce it and make that platform and a set of services available to universities so that they can directly produce their own online courseware using our methodology and adaptive courseware development tools and technology. So ultimately we'll have both courseware that one can adopt and adapt to local circumstances, or a platform that one can use to produce courseware locally.